welcome to Spark TV. It's so fabulous to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
And I'm excited that we're cocktailing together today. Yeah. So you're
gin and tonic-ing, love it.
Love that. I love that so much. So look, I'm so excited to talk to you because I am such a huge fan of the Johnny brand. So I'm just so excited to have this conversation. So before we get into that, what is Johnny? Tell the good people what Johnny is.
Johnny is the must-have new go-to condom brand that is vegan friendly, that is all about squashing the stigma and the awkwardness around safe sex, talking about sex, using condoms, the whole gamut of sexual wellness really is what Johnny is about. Condoms is our vehicle to market, really.
I love it. I love it. And so how did you get here? So you are the founder of a condom brand. How did this happen?
Yeah, well, I'm one of 3 founders, so it's definitely not my own adventure.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. We'll go down that rabbit hole soon too.
Yeah, exactly. So it was actually the ideation of Johnny came after a few of these. With my business,
all good ideas happen. Yes,
all the good ideas happen, and especially when we're actually sitting around together talking about, our one night stands, our infatuations, our loves, our lusts, and there was a theme that was emerging from our discussions because women do talk about sex with women for the most part, and the theme was this awkwardness, and that we had one about buying condoms, but 2 about just wanting to have safe sex and approaching that subject with that intimate partner at the time, and the experiences that we had. And the 3 of us are at different age brackets and ages.
Yeah.
My mouth is warming up, so please bear with me.
Don't worry, the Aperol will help that. Don't you worry. By the end of this, you'll be on fire.
So it was. What was quite amazing was that the 3 of us, despite our age differences, had really similar experiences, and it was sort of a light bulb moment where we decided, well, hang on a second, we can do something about this, and we can address this awkwardness, and why is this the case? And Johnny sort of was born, pardon the pun, from there. We all had our own sort of little motivations for it. Mine was spurred on by the fact that my daughter was 13 at the time, and I didn't want her growing up with the same sort of dialogue, that went on in my head. And when we did some further research, it was confirmed that the messaging that's out there in the marketplace, even still today, is just, not quite right.
Yeah.
And it's probably been a contributor to the way that women in particular think about safe sex, and have allowed men in heteronormal relationships to behave when it comes to safe sex. Not all, some. And we just felt that there was an opportunity to break that cycle.
I think it's so cool. So, I'm not sure if the Spark listeners want to hear about my sex life, but I do. But you just made me think of something. I remember, so I was in a relationship for 10 years and that ended. And I remember, so, that was a long time. And so I hadn't dated in like a decade, crazy. So this is just only a couple of years ago. And I remember the first outing, like when I was starting to be interested in boys, and I'm 37 now, so I was 35, and I remember I was in the IGA and going to buy condoms, and I was so nervous.
Right.
I'm like, you're a 35-year-old woman. You are allowed to do this. It was so weird.
So weird. And it's that, where does that anxiousness come from? Where does that that thinking that this is a shameful thing? It's like, we should be grabbing those condoms and walking out going, woohoo,
Totally. Yeah, we should be a beacon of, I'm representing safe sex here.
Exactly. I'm doing the right thing, I don't like to use right and wrong, but I'm doing the good thing by me and the good thing by, the person I'm choosing to be intimate with. So
totally.
But you're not alone. You're not alone. And the funny thing is, I still have those moments. Even we've just recently gone onto some supermarket shelves, and I was really excited about going and checking out how Johnny looked on shelves. And I'm an older woman and standing in front of the condom section of the supermarkets and just watching people watch me looking at the condom brands. there was a little bit of, oh, this looks a bit odd. But I'm like, no, it's fine. So it's still
I
there.
know. So funny, isn't it? And you think about like how progressive our society seems to be. And I guess we, think about social media and all the topics that are now, that were once taboo a decade ago or a couple, however many years ago, that we're now all talking openly about. But still, you get that little nervous, anxious factor, like judgment. What will people think of me? It's so bizarre.
Yeah. And the beauty of talking about it helps eradicate that anxiousness and awkwardness. It's always going to be there. You're talking about something that's intimate to you and intimate to someone else. There's a little bit of vulnerability that goes with talking about it. But once you start talking about it, all those walls kind of start to crumble down, and you very quickly work out whether the person that you're talking to is respectful of where you're at.
Yeah.
And you sort of intuitively know whether to continue that conversation or not. But at the best part, it gets people talking, it makes it normal, and we can start to think about just wellness in a whole array of areas, not just sexual wellness. So
well, and I love that your brand inherently invites the openness and safeness of conversation, because it's not the traditional condom brand, it's not the naked, sexy-ish woman. It's a beautiful brand.
Thank you. That's really lovely to hear. And it's always so reassuring when people say that unsolicited. We get that feedback, and it's sort of, I went back to the brand book and the business plan that we did 5-6 years ago, and it's like, oh, tick tick, that's so exciting, because that's exactly what we wanted. And we humor is a big part of our brand tone of voice, and we don't always get it right, but it's because humor helps break down that stigma and start the conversation. If you can share a bit of a joke with someone, and it opens up conversations. That was deliberate for us to do that and make that a part of Johnny's brand, and everything else just simple and so it's I love hearing that, so thank you.
Of course. And so have you always been a entrepreneur, business owner type vibe, or was there a career beforehand? What kind of was the pre-story?
Yes, there was a career beforehand, and a career still, in a way, still doing the juggle,
awesome.
Which is the realities of small business.
Totally. Yep.
But I've been in marketing all my life, in the marketing industry in one way or the other. I started off in advertising and moved into the client side, as they say. And and so I've had a sort of a broad experience there, which is really exciting, working for some luxury brands. And my other two business partners, one was more in events and hospitality, and the other is an interior designer that runs her own business. So, between the three of us, there was creative brain power and good networks that we were able to lean on in that time to help bring Johnny to life. But yes, my career has always been in marketing. I'd like to think I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm an entrepreneur who started late in life.
That's right. You're allowed to start anytime. There are no rules here.
There are no rules. No, exactly. I think I've always had, I don't know, I think there's lots of people that have lots of ideas and they're like, oh, we could do this and we could do that. And it got to a point where with this one, it was, oh, we've really got to do something about this. And it was just a really grounding, intuitive feeling that it just worked, it was. So this one landed for us. Maybe all those other ones landed for other people. Don't know. Yeah.
So good. No, I love that. That's so cool. I mean, I think that marketing and sales are, critical. If you don't have that kind of background, learning it very quickly, I think is very, very important in business. I think that people spend a lot of time spinning their wheels with technology development or, the creative or the product and the service, rather than really selling it to someone and figuring out what connects with consumers and what solves a real problem. And so I love that you've got that marketing background. That's actually quite cool.
Yeah, I got the marketing background, but it's interesting, isn't it? I think you might have heard the saying, a builder can never finish his own home. Kind of
thing. Yeah, totally.
Like, I think the marketer can never market their own business. It's the foundation. So the way of thinking, your target markets, all that sort of 101 stuff. That's sort of almost innate, I think, in marketing people. But when it comes to doing your own business, you're so close, not only to it as a brand, but you're also looking at all the other elements of the business. Now, a good marketer should be totally aware of all parts of the business, absolutely. But, the finance plays a bigger role when it's yours, or logistics, you've got your logistics, and it's like, whereas when it's marketing someone else's product, it's
it's a walk in the park. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. That's actually a really good point, isn't it? When you are so close to something, being able to separate yourself, so your emotional connection to the business, our egos, all of those things, and take an objective look when it comes to marketing and just thinking about the value and the transformation that we give to our customer. I've not really thought about that. That's very interesting.
Well, it was funny. One of the first things that we often said at the very beginning was we didn't want the three of us to be the face of Johnny. We wanted Johnny to stand on his own and on its own. It's on he on its own and be separate to us. One of the main reasons for that was, we didn't want our target market, who was deliberately women and young, to be persuaded by three older chicks. It was like, they don't need to know that we've been around the block. Just let Johnny do its thing. But this was just before the Me Too movement, and it was the sort of the start of really a lot of female-led businesses and startups coming through the world. So the PR agency was like, no, we've got to use you. And we're like, oh God, that was confronting as well, because we wanted it to be a brand that separates from us. But I understand also the value of sometimes being able to talk about our experiences and how we got to Johnny.
Well, I mean, that is a really interesting point, right? Because I've had a few conversations with female founders lately about just social media in general, and how they're like, surely I can build a business that doesn't rely on me bloody showing up on an Instagram story or dancing on a reel. And I totally believe that you can do that. But I agree, there is a power in our personal brands that can nudge the corporate company brand.
And it's really specific to the business, and what it's built upon. For us, being able to do things like this is wonderful, because I love being able to contribute to the business world. And I don't know everything, and I'm going to learn heaps from talking to you. And if someone can pick up a little tip that helps in their business from a learning that I've gained, then that's awesome. I'm happy to contribute in that way. I think that's valuable, but definitely not my face on TikTok.
I know. I've personally been trying to find my place on TikTok. I refuse to dance to anything. I'm just gonna put my stuff up on there and see how it goes.
That's fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's interesting, right? Like, I love, what did we say at the start? Like, there are no rules. I kind of think that's right. Like, you can do this game of business however you want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And test and play and see what works. So
oh no, that's okay. We love furry visitors.
Furry friends.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Well, and I mean, it's interesting that you say that, right, about being able to share some wisdom on the podcast. Like, that's what this show is all about. It's like two female founders having an Aperol and a gin and sharing war stories, so that anyone listening could, pick up a little tip, shortcut their success, commiserate with fellow founders, whatever it is. So, that's the whole idea of this podcast, is to be able to share the wisdom, so that you're right. Like, maybe the way we bring our personal brand to our businesses won't always be just the spruiking the product, but it is how we contribute back to the ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've learned things along the way from listening to podcasts. And one of the things I've learned the most is that you're always learning in business. You'll always make mistakes, and you might do the same one twice, and it's going to be really frustrating, but it's just constant. And when you think you've got something right, something happens.
Breaks.
Or
something else comes up.
Yeah, and you're just like, what? But I love it in the same breath. I think that's what really keeps me going, and earlier I was mentioning that I'm currently doing 2 jobs, Johnny and another full-time job, but it doesn't worry me because I love everything that Johnny stands for. So it gives you this energy that you don't even know that's there sometimes. You know, it's like, where did that burst come from? You know?
Yes, that's so true. Like, I know people always say that about me. They're like, I don't know how you do it all. And I was like, I don't know what else I'd be doing, you know?
Right.
You know, I do. I feel the same way. You get an energy when you actually believe in what you're doing and what the business stands for.
Yeah. And it's obvious that it brings you joy, because I can see the joy in you when you're talking, and in the interviews that I've listened to, you can hear it. So I think it's, you know, you found it. It's great.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I love that. I hope everyone else gets to find their joy.
Yes, exactly.
So what was it like developing a physical product? I feel like, you know, a lot of things today, I can't tell you how many posts I see on Instagram that are like, create a course, digital. But like, I love that you've created a physical product. What was that process even like?
Yeah, it was, for the most part, the condom part of Johnny was the easiest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, bizarre. You know, we did go to market, and we did go and look at all the brands that are out there, and knowing which ones are manufactured by who. You know, you do your due diligence, you do your research. We found the ones that we liked the most. And then we went to the manufacturer of those condoms and said, right, you know, we want to make our own, and can you do it? And what does that look like? What does that business arrangement look like? And is it plausible? And lucky enough, we fell upon a really good manufacturer who's one of the best in the world, and we did all our due diligence on them, and that was easy. The parts that were challenging were getting the right people to help bring the vision for the brand Johnny alive. So we knew what we wanted it to be, but getting the right partners on that journey with us was one of the most challenging. So we had a few goes at it. We had people telling us that we shouldn't be targeting women, that it's a male product, and it was like, this is the whole reason we're here.
Wow.
It's for both.
Because you guys have this attitude.
That's right.
Like, we will change your mind.
Exactly. So finding that person that was aligned, or a business that was aligned to what we were setting out to do, proved to be the hardest part. But once we got them, you know, there's a couple of incredible creatives, and once we got them, it just sort of flew on from there. So the physical part of it was easy. Finding a manufacturer was easy. Once we got the creative partners together, fantastic. And then it was a lot of little learnings along the way about navigating the TGAs, or the medical.
Well, I was going to ask if it was considered a medical product.
Very much so, medical device. So you know, a learning that we had, didn't even know about the TGA really until that point. All those on costs that you don't expect or budget for, because it's things that you learn along the way, was interesting. Packaging, do we print offshore, do we print onshore? Finding sustainable packaging that we could afford, you know, all these things. Developing all those parts of the product was challenging. It took us, we started talking about Johnny in 2016, and we did all our plans, and we didn't launch until 2018.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was that's how long the process took. And as I say, the product itself was the easy part, but the actual getting the brand and everything, getting that website up and running, and not being perfectionist about it, just get to market, you know, that kind of stuff, that's what took the longest.
Wow, that's really interesting. And I love too that you said, you know, it's about the people, you know, finding the right people that believe in the vision. Yeah, that's really interesting. That, and because I kind of say that, you know, people can be very make or break. You know, oftentimes founders are doing everything themselves, and, you know, they're getting to that point of hiring the first people, and it's super stressful. And but you know, as I look back on my journey, people have really been the things that have scaled my business and the things that have derailed my business. So I do love like the be super intentional about who you bring into the business and why they're there.
Absolutely. And even going back to your earlier comments before about marketing and small business owners sort of trying to do everything, if it's not your forte, then definitely outsource it. Don't waste time trying, you know, to do something that's not your area of expertise. But feel your instinct, feel the gut, you know, is that person right? If there's something not quite right, talk about it. Same thing in any relationship, right? These people you're giving over a little bit of your baby. So they need to be the right partner. You need to and if you can't have an honest conversation without it turning into an ego match, whatever, well, it's not the right fit. So, move on in any way, shape or form, and any service that comes, in your bookkeeper and your accountant and your lawyer and all those things. You want someone that's got your back.
I love that so much. Like, I think gut feeling is underestimated.
Yeah.
I think that we are wearing so many hats, and we're questioning ourselves and the decisions that we're making, and we've got a bit of imposter syndrome sprinkled into the mix.
Yeah.
But every time I reflect on the fact that I've had a gut feeling about something and not acted on it, it's been the wrong thing, and I should have acted on it. So funny.
And you kick yourself, don't you?
Yeah. As the business owner, right? Like, your stuff.
Absolutely. And it is, and like I say, it is your baby, and you do have the vision for it, and sometimes it's hard to articulate that. So you need to bring on those people that can help you do that, and you've got to feel it. I often spoke to my daughter when she was little about the bats and the butterflies. Ooh. And we had this. She was maybe 6 or 7. And she goes, Mum, I've got this really weird feeling in my tummy. And she was about to go and do a performance or something at school.
Yeah.
And I said, what does it feel like, baby? And she said, oh, it's like the little things rumbling around my tummy. I said, oh, that's butterflies. That's a nervous excitement. And she goes, oh, no, it's not butterflies. It's bats.
Okay. That's so cute. Oh, my God.
And so I said, okay, talk to me about that. What's worrying you? And it was nothing to do with the performance that I thought it was about. It was something that was going on at school.
Oh, wow.
Your instinct saying, this is not a good feeling. I don't like this. I don't want to be a part of that. So we often talk about the butterflies and the bats, Is it a light excitement that's a bit of fun and is spurring you along? Or is it something that's going, no, don't do it? So
oh my God, I'm literally stealing that. That is
the bats,
It's so, but you're so right, because so as an example, I love public speaking,
right.
But before I go on stage, I want to fake my own death. Like,
exactly.
But so it's the butterflies. It's the, I really want to do well, but I'm so nervous, but love it. But you're right. There are bats moments where you genuinely go, oh my God, this is not good. And I've got to have a tough conversation or sort something out.
Don't do that. Don't walk down that alleyway.
Yes. Cross the street. I love it.
That is. That one.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. No, that's so good. And what do you find? It sounds like it's been amazing to date, but how do you find having 2 other co-founders of the business? What's that dynamic been like?
Yeah, that's another relationship that has to be navigated and goes through its ups and downs. Relationships aren't easy.
No.
Threesomes aren't easy. So,
oh my God, you're incredible. I love that.
So no, we've definitely had our challenges, and we continue to navigate that. And I think anyone entering into a business with partners, 1 or 2 or 3, all I can advise is to have really upfront conversations at the beginning that talk about all the tough stuff that might come, like the what if scenarios. Maybe we didn't do enough of that. What happens if the business needs more money but not everyone can put the same amount of money in? What does that look like? Are you happy with that? Is it a quid pro quo? Because those moments will come, and it can build resentment, and resentment can poison the business. So you just have to be really open and honest with each other. If you don't have the expertise to do a particular job that you're being assigned, put your hand up and say, I can't do it. It's just like any relationship, but it's harder. You've got to, it's everyone's business. It's not just mine, it's Bec's and Sammy's as well. So we have to navigate that continuously. And that's something we do all the time. At the end of it though, you've got to come back, especially for Johnny, because fun is a big part of our brand. And if you're not having fun, then the energy is all wrong. You're not growing the business in the right way. So, and respecting your friendship, which is where you came at from the start. Going into business with friends can be fraught with danger.
Absolutely.
You've got to have respect to that relationship. And I suppose that's what Johnny fundamentally is about respect. We've said that from the start. If you can establish that respect for yourself and for the person that you want to have sex with, and then Mother Nature as the third wheel, then that's the core. That's the core of it, is that mutual respect.
That is amazing. I really love the idea of having tough conversations or what if conversations very early, because it's there are going to be problems. There are going to be issues. There are going to be hard days. There are going to be emotions, because it is your baby. And it's not great having those what if discussions when you're in that heightened emotional state.
Exactly, when you're in the emotional state. When you're in that highly emotional state, it is a lot harder. And I'm not saying that we got that right either. We didn't do the what if scenarios. We didn't do the proper job. So what's your role? What's my role? All that. But we had to navigate that as the part of the discussion. So if there is anyone listening to your podcast that's about to start, that's my number one tip. Have those conversations.
I couldn't agree with you more. I did the same thing. When I was in a co-founder relationship and also partner relationship at the same time.
Oh wow, okay.
And we
romantic partner and okay. So even another
level.
My God.
I know, totally. But same thing. But it was interesting because you're so excited and you think the best of everything at the start. Completely stepped on each other's toes, and then actually went, right, if we don't sit down and have these hard discussions, create job descriptions and trust each other enough to look after our bits and stop stepping on each other's toes, then we may as well not do this. So if you can not get to that point, if you can start there, right?
Start there. It is, and it's accepting each other's strengths and weeknesses.
And that not everyone's going to know everything.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Filling the gaps with other people, So, but it's super hard. I take my hat off to romantic partners who go into business together and make that work. That's a whole nother level of negotiation. So,
my God.
Well done for however long you did last in that. That's awesome.
Thank you. I know. Well, 10 years.
You're right.
But it is. I'm exactly the same, right? Tip my hat to anybody that makes it work. And also, I also want to say though, just while we're talking about this is, things change and that's okay. I was talking to this wonderful founder, Lena Broughton, I will mispronounce her last name. Lena and Fleur's her design label. And she started solo founder, brought on a co-founder, like the label's name has her name in it. And she's just stepped out of the business. And it's like, you've got to realize that not everything always just works out the way you think it's going to work out, or and that's totally fine. You just have to be kind of a little prepared for the new situation.
And that's and that is one of the key learnings that I've had, that I often talk about when people ask me, what advice would you give? And I even said this the other day, and my business partner Sammy went, "Oh, I learned something from you tonight." And I'm like, "Oh, that's so interesting." And it was, I said to her, I said to the audience that persistence and patience, go hand in hand, and you've really got to learn how to balance those two things, I feel, as a business owner. Because you need to have patience, because nothing works out as quickly as what you probably envisioned it to do, or doesn't go the same way. So you have to have the patience to manage that and deal with that. But you've got to keep persisting. You've got to keep moving. You've got to keep trying new things. You've got to keep you've got to be flexible. These, you've got to keep persisting. And she said, "I'm not the patient one, am I?" And I went, "No, you're not." but we're all learning patience.
But that's why we have balance.
We're all learning how to navigate balance. But they're the two things. Just go, okay, that didn't work out. Or 10 years of a business with a partner got you to a certain point. That's an incredible success, right? That's
totally.
It's amazing.
I love that. Yeah, that's so it, right? You've got to actually go, holy crap, let's reflect on how amazing and where we got to.
Absolutely. It's a really good milestone. We're getting excited. We're coming up to our 5th. That's like 10. I can't imagine what it would be like to be, celebrating the 10th year. So, yes, you've got to take all those wins.
I love that. But patience and persistence.
Yeah.
Oh, you are so spot on. It's really hard to have both of those things though,
Yeah.
right? Like I am the most impatient person on the planet. So, but you're spot on. It is nothing ever goes as quickly as you want it. Nothing quite follows the path that you thought that it would follow.
Yeah.
But you're always surprised at like how things do work out and you know what you're able to accomplish.
Yeah. And it's taking the time, I think, to give yourself the opportunity to reflect on the things that you do accomplish, even if that's just once a month or once a quarter. Just sort of sit back and go, okay, what did I actually achieve this month, or what hurdle did I overcome, or and be able to get new wind from that, if that makes sense, new energy from that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because then you can, and I'm a bad one for this. I can get too focused on all the things that aren't happening. You know, that didn't happen well enough, or that didn't go good enough, and you start to get really negative.
Yeah,
you've got to sit back and look at all the stuff that you have done. I mean, to sit here and go, far out, we're in our 5th year and we're on our 5th order of condoms. Who would have thought? You know, we've sold over 1 million pieces of condoms. It's like, what?
Oh my God, congratulations. That is bloody amazing.
Just like, what? You know, it's weird. And even just to be sitting here talking about the fact that, you know, I'm part owner of a condom business is weird. So
I bet you never saw that at the start of your career.
That was not on my vision board, I must say.
Oh, I love it so much. Oh, that is awesome. I love that idea of reflecting. It's, you know, you are right. It's so easy, especially as founders. We're wearing so many hats. We've got so many things on the to-do list. You know, I resonate so much with that. It's so easy to look at the things not done, look at the gaps or the things that didn't work and just go, why? Yeah. And not actually look in the rear view mirror and go, oh, actually, I'm pretty amazing.
Yeah, we did all right. Yeah. No, I agree.
Oh, so good. And how do you, I'm just interested in the growth of the business. So you mentioned 5 orders now. So good.
5 product orders. Yeah, roughly. Yeah.
Cool. So then tell me, because you do e-commerce and retailers, wholesale, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's right.
So how have you navigated that? Like, what's the growth plan been? Is one of the founders in charge of kind of sales and marketing? Does somebody take wholesale? Someone takes e-com? Like, how does the growth of the business look?
It is sort of spread between sales and marketing / admin mostly at the moment. We quickly realized, so we were able to do the e-coms part pretty easily. Yeah, there's so much help out there, and Shopify is amazing as a platform. And, again, if you've got the right partners from a design perspective, that part's easy. Yeah, starting to get the marketing going was relatively easy for us. I mean, we did it on the small of a rag. We used digital as much as we could. We did all the down and dirty things.
Nice. Yep.
So running the business, knowing that in order to sort of reach that tipping point and start getting real efficiencies in our financials, so that we could start actually making proper money and pour that back in and reinvest that back into the business, we needed volume.
Yes.
We sort of embarked on an overseas distribution strategy probably a little bit too early than we should have as a young business, but we were super excited,
Yes. Just want to take over the world at the start.
Yeah, exactly right.
Why not?
Big stars, and it was sort of aligned to the fact that Urban Outfitters reached out to us sort of within our sort of 12 months to 18 months of launching, so really early. And one of our business goals was if we could be on the shelves of someone like Urban Outfitters, then we really are starting to change the conversation, helping to change that conversation and that awareness. Why does it have to be on the supermarket shelf? Why can't it be at your local shoe shop or your makeup shop?
Yep.
So when they reached out and said, we want to range Johnny, we were like, what? That's amazing.
Wow.
So we went full ball into that, and COVID hit. So,
oh no!
Yeah, so that affected Urban Outfitters naturally, but it was also a hugely expensive operation for us to do, and we had a lot of learning. So we pulled back in, and we said, okay, we really have to work on making sure the Australian market is right first. Get your own market working.
Yep.
Prove success there, and then go further abroad.
Yes.
So this is a long-winded answer to your question.
No, I love long-winded, do it. Yeah.
So we realized that we weren't equipped. We didn't have the skill set. No one had FMCG selling experience, that we needed an expert in that field. And that's, where you grab the people that can help you. So we did that, and we got a sales agent who had experience in that area, who was fundamentally critical in helping us just even open the door. Yeah. And what that conversation needed to look like, and what were their expectations, and can we meet them, and all that kind of stuff. So that helped accelerate here. And we are now on the shelves of Coles and Woolies and Chemist Warehouse and Priceline, but so not forgetting or ignoring the fact that we had a whole lot of little independents who found us and reached out to us on their own accord, that we're still with, to this day. And I'm so grateful for their support from day dot. They sort of came about on their own accord, and then we've just sort of moved into the larger ones. Still early days. I've only been there for a little while. Will we be successful? I don't know. We're giving it a good shot. Absolutely. Yes, we will. We're giving it a good shot. The markets are fickle. But it's just, at the end of the day, more and more people are getting to know Johnny. If that then allows them to sort of land on our website and see what our messaging is, and that changes the way they think. Yay, job done. So have I answered your question? I'm not quite sure there.
You totally have. And then it just popped into my mind. So do you see, because I almost get the vibe, pun intended, that Johnny is a condom brand. It is actually a sexual wellness brand. You see yourself kind of always doing products, or being more of that content media, really trying to change the conversation? Like, where do you find the balance between those two things?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always been about the conversation for us, and
that's so cool.
And one of our sort of overriding mission statements is intimate equality, that it's doesn't matter who you are, what you are, how you identify, how you have sex, how many people you have sex, it doesn't matter. We should have all be able to come at it from a really healthy place. Yeah. And really, life's hard as it is, and especially as in navigating intimate relationships, even as a teenager, and what some people have great mentors and people they can talk to quite openly. A lot of us don't. A lot of kids still, even today, social media and porn is their first sort of formative exposure to what is sex meant to look like. It's like, oh no, and that's because the people that are around them can't have open conversations with them. So that's what we're really about. Let's get the conversation started, and that's like where we would like to keep evolving into. And if products are the way that enable us to open up that conversation, then so be it. So it's sort of sexual wellness, yes, but wellness all round. And the example I give of that is, for women especially, is that you can, if you choose not to have safe sex, that's completely fine, as long as it's your choice wholeheartedly, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's you making that choice and understanding the potential consequences of that. But when you do choose to have unprotected sex, it's the next day we go, okay, do we go to the chemist and get the morning after pill? Or do I just hang out for the next month, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whenever my next period's due? The mental turmoil you go through, plus then the, should I have done that, should I have not done that, is he going to call me, is he not going to call me, all the stuff that goes on in our head is insane. So the mental stress, so so if you choose to not have protected sex, that's totally fine. Own it, that's not a problem. But just be aware also of the flip side, what our minds do to us and where it can take you. And so it's trying to look at wellness from all those facets as well. It's no one else to judge, but how can we make that a better, nicer, safer place?
Oh, I just love that, because you are spot on. The mental turmoil cannot be overstated, right? And if you guys are creating a platform to be able to have that conversation so that people actually understand pros, cons, options, all of those things, that's incredible. I absolutely love that.
Yeah. It was fascinating to me a few years ago. Do you know Bryony Cole, who is amazing, right? Sort of leading the whole sexual sex tech space. And she invited us to come and be a part of a judging panel for sex techathon or hackathon or something. And I walked away with that going, my eyes have just been opened. Like I am such a prude. I had no idea these things existed, that people did that or they needed that. It was this, so there's a whole world out there that is to be discovered if you want to. You know, you don't have to either, but it really cemented for me that it's not just condoms, it's the conversation. It's being able to have the vehicle to discover all these new things for pleasure and with yourself, with other people, whatever it might be. And that is a really healthy thing to do and be able to be a part of and talk about.
Yes.
You know. So anyway, so that's what John is kind of, it's not just about the condoms. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, let's leave our community with one final piece of wisdom. So our listeners are amazing female founders, some pretty early stage.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've talked about the challenges, about the persistence, the patience. What would you say to a female founder who might be struggling at the moment to help inspire them to just keep going? Any words of wisdom?
To just keep going in this struggling at the moment.
Or any just piece of advice that you've picked up over the 5 amazing years you've been in business?
You know what? I think lean on your community. If you don't have one, find one, and ask as many questions of them as you can, because it's incredible the amount of different insights people have. And you can learn so much from that, what not to do or what to do. So if you're struggling, I would lean on your community as much as you possibly can, because I think some of the mistakes we've made is assuming that we know what we're doing, and then we go, oh no, I didn't, you know. And if I just asked that person over there, perhaps I could have gotten, you know, a different opinion. So don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid that someone's going to steal your idea. Just because people have got too much shit going on in their life anyway. So just ask the questions, you know, put it out there, give it a shot with people you can trust. That would be the one thing. And nothing's better than a business plan. And I'm not talking like a 10, 15 page. I'm talking just a 1-pager for the next 3 years. Put a little bit of a budget together. You know, does it work? Can you make it work? I always say triple it. You know, if you've got a budget of expenses and it said your revenue is $1 million and your expenses are 200,000, make your expenses 600, because something will happen and it will shoot it up. You always need more money than you think, but don't let that frighten you. You know, make that motivate you more than anything. So I hope that kind of helps.
Oh, you are absolutely incredible. Cheers, Bec.
Thank you. It was a delight.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with the Spark community. So grateful for you coming on the show.
Absolute pleasure. And thank you for having me. Really enjoyed talking. It was great.
So God, we'll just cut the video there. You are fabulous.
Oh, no. Well, it was very easy talking to you. It was just a very nice conversation. Very easy.
Totally. I know, so good. You as well. I really enjoyed hearing the story. I'm not even lying for the podcast. Like, I genuinely love the brand.
So
I was so interested in understanding the backstory. So that's
thank you.
So cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's great. So what are you doing for the night now? Are you going to head off for dinner or?
No. So I'm actually in WA, so it's a little bit earlier over here for me.
Oh, great.
Yes.
I wasn't here in Sydney. Were you in Sydney originally?
No, I was in Brisbane. So I'm
okay. So you were East Coast originally. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. Brisbane, born, bred, lived forever, and then just moved here at Christmas time last year.
How are you finding it?
Well, if I'm being honest, I don't love it. We're in it. So my partner's in mining. Right. So because all of my businesses are remote, I couldn't say no to a move. And also it's, you know, a bit of an adventure. So we're in Kalgoorlie in Western Australia, so a super tiny mining town. And I used to live on Fish Lane in Brisbane, which is like restaurants, bars, like gorgeous.
Oh yeah, you've gone from city to country.
Totally. So I'm struggling with the lifestyle a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
But business is the same. So I'm just kind of going, right, I've got a few years to buckle down and grow this empire and, you know, learn about regional country Australia. And then we'll be back in the city. So
see, it's a little swerve, but it'll bring so much value to you later. You'll be amazing. Yeah, exactly. So what's your plan? How long are you thinking you'll be there for?
I think we'll be here for at least 3 years, and then it will be depending on, it's one of those things. So if he does really well here, they might actually put him into another place to build it back up. So it might not get better. It might be kind of the same because he might have to fix another town. Or we'll end up back in a city like Perth or Brisbane again. So
well, good luck. Just fly back to the cities for a little bit of
Totally. My mum and dad are coming for a visit in November, and I said, cool, we're going to Perth.
We're not hanging around in Kalgoorlie.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, if you're ever in Melbourne, please, you know, reach out and we'll have a drink and I'll get Sammy involved. And
amazing.
She'd like to meet you. Yeah, there's some great restaurants. She designs a lot of the restaurants here, so
how cool.
Yeah, it's very handy.
Awesome. I love that. I know. I'm like the one thing I miss is food and wine.
yeah, I can imagine.
Yes.
What about cooking?
I know. I was on
the same.
It's funny.
It was such a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for having me.
And I'll flick all over the details as soon as this is all live and tag everyone and all that kind of good stuff.
No stress. That's totally fine.
Love it. Awesome. Chat to you soon. Bye.
Bye.